This is great if you're moving to a new house or if you just want to clean through your bookshelves and get rid of those books that, gasp, you don't want to keep anymore. Hi there, Kelsey Stelting here. Today I am talking about how to decide which books to bring with you on a move. This is great if you're moving to a new house or if you just want to clean through your bookshelves and get rid of those books that, gasp, you don't want to keep anymore. So I will go through each of my tips on how to decide which to keep and which to toss, and then I will walk you through how I made the decision on my own personal books in my house. The first thing I ask myself when I'm looking through my books and deciding which ones I want to keep and which ones will make it into my new space is, which of these books have changed my life? So every reader has those books, one of those books, multiple of them, that the second they read it, the second they hit the end, it changed their outlook on reading, on life, on love, on philosophy and religion. And these are the books that you need to keep with you in your space. Even if you're not regularly touching them, opening them, or reading them, they're going to be the ones that you want to look at and remind you of what you learned and of what you want to be. And this isn't in the sense of what you want to be when you grow up. It's in the sense of the type of person that you want to be, the kind of life that you want to live. And so I definitely kept all of these books with me. One of my favorites is The Perks of Being a Wallflower by Stephen Chbosky. His writing in that book is incredible, and how real he made his character feel to me has stuck with me for years. And so I will definitely keep that one on my shelf forever. Another question I ask about the books that I want to keep or toss is, which of these books am I actually going to read? So let's face it, as a reader, you probably have a to-be read list a mile long, and not all of them are going to hit the top of that list and finally get read. Your mood might have changed since you bought it. It might have been gifted to you. It might be something you just picked up in a bag at a thrift store. Who knows? But if you have changed, if your circumstance has changed since you bought it, it's time to let it go, because sitting on your shelf gathering dust is doing no good for you. And honestly, it's kind of sad for the book. Like, it could be in someone else's hands being read and enjoyed, and instead it's like continually getting passed over. So I don't know if you like to personify inanimate objects, but sometimes that's fun for me. So I would definitely be honest with yourself as you're going through this, because you might have aspirations to read it. It might be a great personal development book, but if you're not in the space to read it, it's time to let it go. And if you decide at some point you're ready to read it, you can purchase it again and read it with a lot more intention. If you're like me and you live with a husband and children or with roommates, you might consider which of these books your loved ones or those that you live with will like to read someday. So there are books on my shelf like The Power of a Praying Husband that I won't read just because I'm not the intended audience for that book. But I know that my husband bought it, and if he decides to get rid of it, that's his decision. But I'm going to make the decision to bring it with us because that's his book, and I think it would be great for him to read someday. I love the idea that my husband's reading with me. I have a lot of children's books in my house that I'll read with my kids, but I'm not going to get rid of them because every day their tastes change, so I'll keep those on hand. So make sure when you're going through your books, you're not tossing things just because you personally don't have an interest in them. If someone else in your family will read it, then hang on to it and bring it along. Now, if we're being honest with ourselves, there are some books that we keep on our shelves just for the sake of aesthetics. Maybe you're one of those cool Instagrammers who have a shelf that's decorated by color, which looks absolutely fantastic in pictures. But if you're moving or trying to downsize or save space, be honest with yourself about why you're keeping a book. Are you keeping it for its original purpose, which is to be read? Or are you keeping it because you like the way it looks, or because you want people who visit you to think that you're reading this book? I kind of go over this a little bit as I'm going through my own titles, but I definitely fell into that trap of just hanging on to books that I wouldn't read because I liked the thought of how having that book made me look. And the books that you have aren't for anyone else, they're for you. So make sure that your shelf reflects that. This is definitely one that I struggle with as a book lover, because there are going to be books on your shelf that are completely worn out and out of date. And if it's out of print, or if you have an emotional attachment to it, hang on to it and keep it. That's precious. But if it's so worn out, you might consider giving it away, or using it for packing material, or repurposing it into a craft so that that book can have a second life, and you can always purchase another edition, or maybe grab it on Kindle so that you can save on space that way. There are definitely a lot of ways that you can repurpose old books. So if you're interested in seeing a video like that, be sure to leave a message in the comments so that I can make one of those. So I'm going to show you how I went through each of my shelves and kind of my thought process as I thought about which books to keep and which books to toss. So as you can tell, I have a fairly large bookshelf, and this is one that I made for myself as a high school student. It is fresh pine, and I just used a little bit of a finish on it so that it would show the natural pine color, and I absolutely love it. It is one of my favorite items in our house because it is so large, and I can adjust the shelves and I can hold everything that's important to me. One of the problems is that I can hold everything that's important to me and then a little more. So you can tell by these boxes that I've already started going through some of my books and setting stuff aside. But I also have a lot of books up here that I love and I need to go through, because every so often you go through the books and you see that you have more than you need. So on this top shelf, I have one of my favorite books of all times, The Perks of Being a Wallflower by Stephen Chbosky. It's absolutely amazing. It is going in the save pile. I also have my well-worn Bible, which I might even need to get a new one, but I think I'm going to go ahead and save this one in case I want to do journaling or crafts with it. I have a book, Don't Cry Over Spilled Bedpans, which a family member wrote, which I will save. I have Letter to a Suffering Church, and this one's obviously important to me as a Catholic, as someone who's considering my Catholic faith, so I will save this for some heavier reading. I have books that I've written saved in here. I have adorable YA books that I've read and loved and will save. I have books written by friends like Cindy Ray Hale, even some by Yesenia Vargas. Love to hate that boy, it's so adorable. And so all of these books I will be saving to make sure that they go into my new house. Now, the harder ones for me to decide on are books like the Harry Potter series and the Inheritance series by Christopher Paolini, because my children just are not at the age where they're going to read these, and I have read them so many times that I don't think I'll be coming back to them for quite a while. And honestly, when I do go back to read the Harry Potter series, I almost wonder if I'll want to pick up a new edition that they can have for themselves, or maybe an illustrated version so I can start with the kids a little younger. And so these might be ones that I'll think long and hard on about, either giving away to a family member that I love, or selling as a set to someone who wants them, or just bringing to a Goodwill or a used bookstore or something like that. There are also books in here like this one, Eat, Pray, Love. And I don't know if you're guilty of this, but sometimes I will buy books because I like what they say about me. And I think I would love if someone's in my house and looking through my bookshelf to see this and see that she reads memoirs and that she reads about travel and all these things. And I've had this in my house for about 2 years, thinking about reading it and just haven't. So this will be one that I probably just won't read, if I'm being honest. So I'm going to go ahead and set that aside and make room for other books that I do love. Another book that I wanted to show you is The Night I Disappeared by Julie Reese Deaver. This is a psychological thriller, and it's hands down like one of the best books I've ever read. Was totally shocked by the reveal, and I just keep it to remind myself that, you know, that it exists. I've obviously read this book so many times. I got it as a teenager, so it's been in my possession for probably more than a decade, and I cannot give it away. It's just too good. And then there's some that I keep so that I can, you know, continue developing. Sacred Marriage. I'll keep this because I do want to be this person, and I will read this book. Just like Al-Anon, I'll keep this because I know that there are going to be times where I fall and I need it. So I'm going to hold on to that. I'm going to hold on to it too. So if someone comes and visits and sees it, you know, it can be a conversation piece. It can be me saying, you know, I've been there too, and if you need help, I'm here. And it's also there for my alcoholic family members. If they come and visit, they'll know, hey, she's struggling through this and she's getting help. Maybe I can too, and there's nothing wrong with that. So that's another one. I have books up here like this one, Let It Snow. It was a very good anthology, but I've already read it, and I'm not a huge fan of Christmas stories, so that will probably be another one that will go in the giveaway pile, which is very small, but I hope to see it grow a little while. And then down here, I usually save the bottom 2 rows of my bookshelf for photo albums. Now that I have kids, it's just so fun for them to go through the photos and to look at them and to see the pictures of my husband and me before we had children and what our lives looked like, and then see the photos of them that we've saved so that they know that they're precious. And you know, some of these are very old. Like I want to say this one, yeah, my drawing and writing book by Kelsey Haas. That's my maiden name. This is from when I was a kid, and yeah, it's rough. I'm not going to open it up and show you, but I'll always save this one because it's just too adorable, and I'm glad that my parents kept it for me. So that's about it. And then when I'm done, I will put them in a box and save them for later. And what I've learned after moving a couple of times is that you want to pack these in a small box, because if you pack them in a large box, it will get too heavy, and whoever is carrying them, whether it's you or someone who's helping you, will get hurt carrying it. Or if you're moving the box around, it will break. So this box is obviously too big, and I'm going to have to find another one to store these books in. But so far, that's the plan, to go through the books, and you know, I'll save the ones that are important to me, and the ones that aren't will go to the giveaway pile. So I'm not sure about you, but one of the places I love to keep books and notebooks is on the nightstand. And you'll notice that my nightstand is still a little messy because we're in the process of moving, but it has my notebook for things I want to write and remember, or if I have ideas where while I'm sleeping, I can write them down and, you know, keep track of that. And then I also have a lot of children's books because I do have children, and if they climb into bed with us at night, I want to be able to read to them. So what I'll do is I'll go ahead and set the children's books aside. As you'll notice, I'm keeping most of these as long as they are in good quality. And I will set those aside and pack them in a box to keep. And what's on my nightstand, I'm not sure about you, but this is where I become the person that I want to be. So you'll notice I have Heal Your Body. It's Affirmations by Louise Hay. I have The Body Keeps Score. It's a book on trauma and healing trauma, which is important for my children and myself. And then I have The Out of Sync Child, which is about sensory processing, which is really common in a lot of adopted children, and I'm hoping to learn some tools there. So once I have all of those set aside, I can put them in my box, and I'll make sure that they're in a box somewhere important so that I can keep them to myself and keep developing. I hope watching me go through this process and kind of thinking over which books are going to stay with you was helpful. If it was, be sure to leave a thumbs up and subscribe to this channel and hit the notification bell so you can see more bookish updates. I can't wait to talk with you more.